by the time the patrol car rolled up to my backyard. Lana's forearms were bright green, and half the block had their phones up. She kept yelling chemical attack, like I'd turned my pool into a supervillain origin story. But my cameras were rolling. The timestamps were clean, and for once the loudest person in Silver Birch Estates didn't get to write the ending. That was the second everybody learned whose water they'd been splashing in. And yeah, that happened. I'm Casey Morgan. I worked 20 years for a little slice of Henderson, Nevada. Cottonwood shade, a patch of stubborn grass, and a pool that made the whole struggle feel worth it. 2 months after closing, I woke to a laugh that didn't belong in my house, the sharp kind that shows up before noon. When it shouldn't, then a splash. Then a Bluetooth speaker rattling my fence. I yanked the curtains. And there they were, 3 women in my pool, like it came with day passes. Drinks bobbing in a pink flamingo and center stage. A woman in a huge sun hat and mirrored sunglasses, who looked like she'd been born to claim other people's chairs. That was my introduction to Lana Kingsley. I walked out barefoot because some part of me still believed in neighborly mourning. I said, "Trying for calm, this is private property, not the community pool." She slid her sunglasses down a fraction and gave me that little smile people use when they already decided how this plays out. "Sweetheart, this is the community pool, section 9. I have a key." I told her the locks were changed because they were. I told her I bought this place because I did. Just shrugged, glided to the side gate, and popped it open in one clean motion. No jiggle, no fight. The latch clicked shut behind her like punctuation. I stood there, staring at my framed deed on the kitchen counter, like paper could stop arrogance. Then I marched to the HOA office to see Derek Cole, a man whose smile came pre-installed. I showed him photos. Hat floaty my pool. He chuckled like I'd brought him a fun fact. "That's Lana, she's spirited. Let's not use words like broke in. We share amenities here. This isn't an amenity," I said. "It's on my plat map." He nodded at the floor. "Casey, you're new. She's been here 15 years. Be a good neighbor. Pick your battles. You know what I mean." The phrase that always benefits the person who started the fight. That night I checked the gate and saw it. Not broken. Filed down, somebody had shaved the latch so it wouldn't catch. So I ordered cameras like a man who's done being polite. 4 of them. Pool gate fence. Motion alerts. Remote access, the whole kit. For 2 days, it was squirrels and wind. Then at lunch, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I opened the feed, and there she was. Hat sunglasses stealing my sunlight from my chair, raising a drink toward the lens. Like we were partners in a joke, she stayed 2 hours. Didn't swim, just lounged like it was a performance meant for me. Tuesday. It repeats. Thursday, she brings friends and sandwiches. Friday. A kid with a skimmer lets himself in and nearly drops the pole. When I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" Miss Lana said, "She's the owner, weekly cleaning." I pay the kid for his trouble and tell him he's done. Tell Miss Lana this is not her property. Then I take a flash drive to Derek. Labels timestamps so organized it could have survived a courtroom and a bake sale. He watches 10 seconds and offers a warning letter like that has ever slowed a bully. I laughed in his office because sometimes it's laugh or explode. And on the drive home, I finally admitted the obvious. Nobody was coming to help me. Not the HOA that runs on convenience. Not the folks who say pick your battles. Probably not the cops who call this civil until it explodes. So I made a plan that wasn't about shouting louder, it was about proof. I called an old friend, Dr. Nina Hart. Chemistry brain. Ethics. Spine. And I said, I don't want to hurt anyone. I want undeniable, loud, safe evidence. She sighed, the way only a friend can, and said there are demo dyes for cosmetic classes that light up under sunlight, with certain sunscreen formulas. Temporary skin. Safe. They rinse off with soap and time. But if we do this, you document everything. You keep kids away. And if the police ask you, tell the truth. We set up in my garage like adults who respect cause and effect. She never gave me recipes because she's not reckless, but she showed me swatches in pool water, a drop with a dab of a common sunscreen, a slow bloom into jewel green under a lamp. We tested silicone pads and fabric. Faint tint, then gone. We printed the safety sheet labeled the vial, practiced the sentence. We'd say to an officer, it's a cosmetic demonstration. Dye non-toxic used in classrooms, here's the SDS. And here's the mid-story twist that made everything make sense. Reviewing older footage. I paused on her hand at the gate and zoomed bright little tag on a silver key. The kind you get when someone makes a copy years ago and never gives it back. The previous owner had let her manage the pump. When the community pool was under repair, she still had a key that didn't belong to her. And suddenly the confidence, the smirk, the filed latch, all of it clicked. Saturday dawned clear, with that polite Nevada breeze. I balanced chemicals and polished tile like I was staging an altar, because if you're going to prove a point, it needs to look pristine at 10:12. I added a measured dose and wrote it down like a spreadsheet on Leg's pool. Volume weather time, I called my neighbor across the alley. Gus Ramirez shop. Teacher retired, excellent. Witness showed him the camera angles, said, if kids show up, we stop. If anything looks off, we stop. He nodded like we were building a deck. At 11:42, the side gate swung inward, and there she was framed in sunlight, like a stage cue Lana, with the hat and sunglasses and two friends behind her, carrying that ridiculous flamingo like a trophy. They spread towels on my chairs. She winked at the camera like she owned the narrative and did her ritual. Lotion palms, slow circles over shoulders, that coconut scent that makes you think of beach postcards and boundary issues. For a minute, it was just normal Saturday noise. Birds water somebody's mower. Then she popped up from a little cannonball and glanced at her arm, a small smear of green like a grass stain. Watched it spread in a soft fan, across her shoulder and into the edge of her hairline. One friend giggled, then apt as the flamingo's cheek went lime. The other slipped on the wet deck and knocked cups into a clatter. Phones came up along the fences, because that's how the world works now. You know what I mean. I hit record to save all feeds locally. Placed the safety sheet next to the laptop, like it could calm my pulse, and felt that wild braid of feelings. Relief because the truth was visible. Shame because humiliation is loud. Even when you don't desire it, empathy for the 3 seconds when her face forgot how to perform, and she looked truly shocked then. The mask snapped back on, and she started live streaming. Look what he did. Chemical attack. Call the police. I'm being poisoned. The irony could have lit the pool. My video showed gate at 11:41. Entry at 11:42 sunscreen, at 11:44 color, at 11:47. Gus had a clean angle too, plus her bragging line, exclusive access, like she couldn't help herself. 15 minutes later, Officers Ruiz and his partner walked up with that calm that says they're here to sort facts, not feelings. I handed over the flash drive, the log, the labeled vial, the SDS. He watched the sequence like a coach reviewing game tape and finally said, "Ma'am, we have you on private property. We'll take your statement, but the video stands." She tried to barrel through him with threats and board names, and "I'll have you arrested." I kept my voice flat, because flat is stronger than loud. I already paid for the only thing that matters here, the deed you kept crossing. After that, it got bureaucratic. In the best way. Statements, evidence tags, report numbers, and the neighborhood did what neighborhoods do. It turned the moment into a feed eclipse. Hit the chat at some folks defended her on reflex, others posted receipts, her old texts about using my pool while the community pump was down. A photo of a duplicate key from years back with a bright tag. And Derek suddenly discovered a spine and called an emergency meeting. Here's the payoff. The audit that started as PR uncovered a mess duplicate keys floating around unapproved maintenance invoices that didn't match work. A paper trail that pointed back to Lana's influence, and Derek announced lock changes and an access purge. Then Officer Ruiz came by with a restraining order to sign and serve 500 feet between her and my property, while trespass charges moved along. We stood at the curb while he read the order to her. She kept the phone up like a shield. Her face flickered and hardened. "You think this is over?" she said low and steady, and a dozen neighbors held their breath for my answer. "For me," I said, "it is." That's where I cut it in my head. Papers in a gloved hand, sunlight on concrete. The first real quiet I'd felt since the morning a stranger waved at me from my own pool. If you're wondering whether the green was too far, I hear you. We used a cosmetic demo dye that's skin-safe and temporary. We documented every step, no kids around, full transparency with the police. My goal wasn't to hurt her. It was to make the truth visible in a place where rumor had more rights than a deed. And when the truth showed up in broad daylight, the system finally remembered how to work. Still, there's a real question living under all this. Where's the line between defending your boundary and turning into the villain of somebody else's story? Is humiliation mere when it's the only language power respects? Would you have knocked on doors and begged longer? Or would you have done what I did and let the receipts talk? You know what I mean. Tell me where you stand. Drop your city. And your take in the comments. Was I out of line? Or was that the only way to make an HOA hear a new homeowner? Without a 15-year resume, share your own story. If you have one, the neighbor who thought your fence was optional. The board that forgot rules, cut both ways. And if you believe evidence beats rumor, tap subscribe and send this to the one person on your street who needs a reminder that private property isn't a suggestion.